Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the world of Starcraft. I am Sebastian Coburg, here with yet another interview with a Starcraft 2 gentleman. AskJoshy is his YouTube name. How are you doing, my man? I understand you just came back from a long trip through the ice and snow.
I'm doing great, aside from the ice and snow, which you mentioned. I actually made it home safely, though, so
Good to
not
hear.
too big of a deal. No horrible accidents or anything. But aside from my little weekend in the snow, things have been going pretty good for me. Can't complain.
I'm happy to hear that, and we'll go into the specifics, certainly. Did you spend that weekend in the snow doing real-life stuff like normal people do, or did you just commit yourself to StarCraft in another environment?
No, this was my vacation away from StarCraft, churning out all that content all the time. I just spent a weekend with some friends from college and watched a lot of football. The college football championships were yesterday, and the NFL playoffs are going on. So, just hanging out with my friends.
Well, that sounds perfectly nice. People should do that more often. But of course, you've been churning out lots of content. As you say, you're a top-producing StarCraft 2 YouTuber. And of course, producing regularly is one of the most important things. And I know, because I read some posts on your blog, AskJoshy.com, just before, that you get a lot of questions from aspiring people who might want to follow in your footsteps or at least record a lot of videos. How do you manage to manage your time and create all that content with such consistent quality?
Well, I try to just make sure that I get at least one game out per day. So maybe if I do something like 6 games in a day, I can take the next few days easy. But just averaging 1 game a day is pretty much what I shoot for. Obviously, some days you can't, devote a few hours of your time to just getting a video up. So I try to balance things if I can. And I like to record a best of 3 or a best of 5 all at once if I can, so that I can reference previous games and things like that. But then if I do that and I have to export all that video at one time, it takes 6 hours sometimes, and I have to sort of plan if I'm going to be sleeping during that time or not. But
I know what you mean. Rendering is the biggest enemy of a YouTuber, truly.
It really is. Even uploading is not so bad anymore since I've moved. I'm in a new house than the last time we talked, but uploading is real quick. Exporting still takes absolutely forever, especially in 1080p.
Yes, that's why I do 720. That is definitely something we all struggle with, since most people sit with more or less normal computer gear for everyday private use, and that's not really what YouTube demands. But anyhow, since we last talked, things have happened. You have become a YouTube partner and a director of Machinima, among other things. Tell us your story.
All right. Well, last time we spoke, I had started making videos for Machinima, and we talked about a little bit how that worked. Basically, I would make a video, and they would pick it up at their leisure to put on their channel and pay based off of views. But now I am what's called a premium director, where all my videos are licensed to Machinima, and essentially they get all the ad revenue and then pay me from that. That happened first week of November or so. So since then, I've just been trying to make as much content as I can to keep the people happy and satisfied with my channel, keep them coming back. Since then, also a couple of other things have happened, but I'm sure we'll get into it. Yeah, Machinima. It's really simple. They just said, "Do you want to do this?" And I jumped at the chance to get some extra revenue, because it's a huge difference between getting one video on their channel maybe every 2 or 3 weeks, and then being able to make whatever you want whenever you want on your own channel.
That is
so it's much nicer.
Well, good for you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Because of course, as I've already alluded to, I've been getting a lot of questions on my own channel. People asking, how do you do this? And more specifically, how do the big guys do it? Such like you and the HD and the Huskies. How do you become big? How do you become successful? And that's a very difficult question to ask, obviously. But think this might have shed some light. How many subscribers have you got nowadays?
Closing in on 33,000 subscribers.
That's not bad at all, and it's not such an unimaginable number as the 300,000 plus that some people have. And people out there do keep at it and try to figure out your own thing. But returning to the subject of you, Josh, you have more things to tell. You recently something complex. Tell us more about that.
Well, Complexity Gaming, as many of you may or may not know, is a very long-standing esports franchise, and they've actually had at various points the #1 Counter-Strike team in the world. They've had #1 World of Warcraft arena teams. Right now, I believe their Brazilian Counter-Strike team is still ranked in the top 3. I think they might be #1, but they've been around competitive gaming for a very long time, since 2003 actually, and Starcraft 2, they've never done an RTS. Like, they didn't have any Warcraft 3 players or Red Alert players. I'm not sure anyone had any Red Alert players, but anyway, they would. They weren't sure how big StarCraft 2 was going to get. Obviously, it was massive, so they sort of were a little bit behind teams like Evil Geniuses. I'll just mention Evil Geniuses because they had an existing StarCraft Brood War team, so it was very easy for them to make a switch with players like In Control and Machine and LZ Gamer, and now start to pick up some other talent. Like recently, they've gotten Idra and DeMuslim, and Complexity just didn't have that existing team, so they've been forced to sort of scout around over the various MLG events and things in North America. Complexity is based in North America, so they're looking for the best in the US and Canada, places where they can actually afford to get players to events. And recently they picked up a smaller team. Not many people have heard of them. It's Nova Gaming, and they just picked up the entire team, and now they're Complexity Gaming. So when that happened, that was about 3 weeks ago or so, and Complexity then decided they needed a media presence. They needed a content to go along with their new team, someone to hype their players, someone to cast replays, someone to be there at the events to interview the players, and basically just have a face and a voice to go along with their new investment into StarCraft 2. And Ryan Ruche, he's been around StarCraft 2 since beta. He's participated in weekly tournaments and things like that. He doesn't have a lot of major wins under his belt, major tournament wins, but he can beat any player out there. I've seen replays he sent me where he's beaten Idra, and any of those players can hang with any players that you already know about, and that's exciting because now that they've got the motivation to continue practicing and things like that, they're just going to get better and better. They're going to be showing up at the MLG events, trying to take it all, and that's exciting for me because I'm friends with Ryan and a couple of the other players, Stalife and Anti-Mage. Been talking to off and on Skype for months now, so I'm excited for them, and I'm excited to get to hang out with them and create a lot of new content with them over the next year or so. We'll see where things go.
But we will see and hear of that from your channel then. It will be the primary source?
No, ComplexityGaming.com is already a major, like I said, for other games, Counter-Strike and World of Warcraft. They've got their own community already. I'm going to be creating content. For example, let's say MLG is in Orlando in March or something. I would go interview all the Complexity players, do some behind-the-scenes videos and stuff like that, maybe just us goofing around, and then all that content would go onto Complexity Gaming's website. Anything that I do outside of that, I still have the freedom to go interview other players like Huck or Idra or whoever else and just say, hey, this is Josh with Complexity Gaming interviewing Idra, blah, 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 blah. That stuff would still go on AskJoshy, and we'd probably edit it up a little bit and then repost, cross-post, I guess, on Complexity at a later date. So they're allowing me a lot of freedoms still. I'm not sort of pigeonholed into only doing Complexity Gaming content, but I am going to be their main provider of it. So it's a good deal for me. It allows me to not have to burn any bridges or anything like that. I can continue to produce content with other gaming teams like Root, EG, Fnatic, etc.
And please do. And
I plan on it.
Oh, I'm counting on it. But of course, this shows the progress of, in particular, the North American Starcraft esports scene, which has been exploding somewhat chaotically at times during the past year, and sort of coming together, which is very interesting to see. Just like to mention that, of course, you erupted as an interviewer, not just a caster, when you went to IAM New York and you were at MLG Dallas, where you worked very closely with Team Liquid's Uncontrollable, also known as Anna Prosser, the better half of Pro Gamer in Control. Was it from there that things sort of took off from you when you went off the normal YouTube stage, so to speak, and made additional unique high-end quality content outside of that? Is that what made things roll?
That certainly didn't hurt. It's not like I didn't see huge spikes in interest or anything, but it's actually, I think it's a different niche from casting games that these guys are actually playing and then putting the camera on them. If you actually look at the views on interviews with players like Idra or Huck, they'll be really, really high, but still entertaining people like In Control. In Control gives great interviews. He's a part of the State of the Game podcast for a reason. He's very well articulated. He's incredibly quick-witted, and he's just an amazing guy to watch be interviewed. And just there's a drop off. I'll get comments on YouTube saying we don't care. Like, we don't care who these guys are. We just want to see them, build colossi and win games. So there is actually, it's different markets. I mean, people like you and I, we enjoy both aspects, but not everyone does. It was really cool, and I'm really glad that Team Liquid wanted me to help them out, and I jumped at the chance. It was a lot of fun hanging out with the Team Liquid guys all weekend as well, making some new contacts and things. And since then, I mean, really, what seems to work the best as far as holding interest on YouTube is just creating a lot of content. I mean, people will, if they can check every day and see something new every day, they'll continue to do it. If they check every day and there hasn't been anything uploaded in 3 days, they might not check again for 3 more days. It's just habit, and I feel like persistence and regularity sort of trump uniqueness, which is sad to. I mean, it sounds terrible, but
yeah, I've sadly discovered the same thing myself. But that's just how it is. The rule of the game. Yeah, you can roll with it. But I think maybe organizations like Complexity Gaming, in your case, were more impressed by the combination that you had those different skills. Were so versatile. So it could generate other opportunities rather than simply views, even though you need to put the legwork in there and produce content all the time. And I'm saying this again and again because I know many people who will watch this have the dream of doing Starcraft YouTubing or something similar as more than just a hobby. I think I'm losing you a bit there, Josh, audio-wise. Perhaps.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just making
little
small noises to affirm that I'm agreeing with your statements. I'm still here.
All right, that's good to know. A few things I'd like to talk about before we go into the main feast, which is, of course, in the entire world of StarCraft, the GSL. I want to dwell a lot on that, but we're saving it for last. Something that is also very exciting, but of an entirely different nature, is the release of the Starcraft Bible, which I know that, you've written one of the testaments almost. Perhaps that's saying a bit too much, but why don't you tell us about your involvement with this epic project?
Well, Chobo Peon, Patrick O'Neill, is the author of the Starcraft Bible. If you guys haven't heard of it yet, there's threads all over teamliquid.net about it. Box. Yep, and it's basically a historical account of StarCraft Brood War and, to some extent, StarCraft 2. And I was interviewed by Patrick in late December. He said he was going to post it on ESFI World and maybe some other sites. And I said, okay, that sounds awesome because, more visibility is obviously better for me. And I did not even know that it was going to be going into the Starcraft Bible. That was just sort of a pleasant surprise when he actually said it public on something like January 5th and told me that our interview actually got in there. So it's very sort of surreal for me to be what I feel is sort of just such a small piece of Brood War and StarCraft 2 history to actually be in there. It's almost like it just seems odd that...
Does it seem like heresy?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like I should matter at all compared... I mean, I'm in the same book as people like Flash and Jaedong and Boxer and, Day 9, who's like the herald of all things StarCraft 2. It's just surreal. Like I said, it's cool though. I like it a lot.
I can tell. Perhaps you're in a different chapter than those guys. But have you read the book yet? Because I have ordered it, and I very much hope to interview Patrick Chobo Peon perhaps next week, because I'm very excited about this. It's so unique and I'm sure good, but I haven't read it yet. Have you?
I'm very anxious for it to arrive in the mail. Patrick and I talked about getting me a copy, and it's just a matter of time now before it arrives, and I read the whole thing in one sitting.
Yes, I expect a full and very empathic review of that on this channel, beloved viewer. That's an interesting project, and 2011 is really shaping up like the year of the Hydralisk. So many things are going on, and it's quite difficult to get a grasp of everything. There are tournaments going on everywhere, and nowadays pro gamers are flying there, and it's just more and more of the things that we only had little embryos of in the Brood War days, and they're streaming everywhere. And speaking of streaming, it seems like it's the must-have accessory these days for anyone who is somebody in the StarCraft scene. Have you taken upon that trend, Josh?
Thanks to Complexity Gaming, I will be streaming, and I'll actually be able to offer money to some players, which is always exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, if I say to a player, "Hey, play some games for my stream," they'll be like, "Is it worth my time?" So it's nice to have some sponsorship behind me, but I've never actually done streaming on my own. I was with IC Cup TV for several months, and I would always co-cast because I didn't have the rig, I didn't have the upload speed necessary. Now I've got the upload speed. Like I said earlier, I moved in December and have a much better internet, and now I've got some new computer parts, new processor, motherboard, stuff like that on the way now, so that I can have hopefully a stream as crisp as people like Day 9, DJ Wheat, the Gun Run from GLHF. Those are basically the best streams out there, and I want to at least be close to that if I can. So I'm excited to start tweaking my stream, and I'll probably throw a video on my channel at some point if and when I'm comfortable with the quality. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to streaming. And as far as it being a must-have accessory, I think everyone can agree that it's really nice to be able to watch things live, especially if it's a first-person point of view from a player. People like Katz and Huck and Tyler and everybody, they're streaming their games now. QXC actually just moved to Spain for a semester, so he's going to stop, but he had one of the best streams, most amusing streams to watch there too. And I like it just because of the fan interaction that it enables. A YouTube video, I'm saying everything in one long sentence essentially, and then the comments to it are just replies to maybe one little piece of what I did over the last 14 minutes, and it's just very disjointed conversation. But in a live stream, I can actually tab out, read what people are saying, and respond to it in real time and create a discussion. So that's a cool aspect of it for me.
Nothing beats live. That is definitely the way to go, and we'll be looking forward to seeing it from you, see if you can add something to the formula. Because that leads me on magically to the other thing I'd like to talk to you about, which is the true evolution, the second genesis of StarCraft 2 as an entertainment form, as an esport, which is being led by the GSL, the Global Star League, hosted by GOM TV in South Korea, casted by, for the international stream, Nick Tasteless Plot and Dan Artosis Stamkowski. It's the best thing out there, and I think even a humble YouTuber as you would agree that watching the GSL is an entirely different league, and they're really pushing the envelope, and people sitting at home with their own rigs trying to compete, they do have a tough time. But the GSL is just epic to watch. Did you manage to catch today's games? I guess not if you were out in the ice and snow.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was really looking forward to Jinro versus Idra in the Code S matches, and I do know. I mean, I looked at the results and read up on some game synopses and things like that, but I haven't had time to actually. I just got home about an hour and a half ago, so it's like I'll definitely watch them tonight, probably shortly after this interview, because I know. I love watching either of them play, and when they're forced to play each other, it's kind of disheartening because they're the only two foreigners in Code S. But it's still exciting, and I don't want to spoil the results for any people listening that haven't spoiled it for themselves like I have. But it's good stuff. I'm very much looking forward to it, and GSL in general is just amazing. You said they have the best quality, and it's not just that, they have the best players. I mean, these guys are insane. These are a lot of the same players who for the past few years have been in these pro gaming houses playing Brood War for 12 hours a day, and the mechanics, I mean, they're not lost on StarCraft 2. Some things are significantly easier, so things like splitting workers no longer require 1,000 APM, but the mechanics are all still there. They can endlessly hit the keys and know exactly what they're doing, and it's amazing to watch them play StarCraft 2 because with those easier aspects, it allows them to do micro and macro to even higher level. So there aren't really any things that I would consider to be the end all of micro, like Reaver drops back in Brood War.
That was glorious.
It took a lot of skill, and it was very, very cool when someone was able to pull off a very nasty Reaver drop. And I've seen TLO actually do Hellion drops in a similar style, where he had something like 3 Hellions and 1 medevac against 2 Banshees. So he would drop the Hellions, let them shoot their jets. The missiles would be flying at the Hellions, and he'd pick them back up before the missiles actually connected, and just torched a whole mineral line. That was one of the craziest displays of micro I've ever seen still in StarCraft 2, and I know that you don't see it every game, so there will be a point in the future where you will see things like that every game. It's really cool to think we're not even close to how good it can be.
Truly, and how when it gets really good, how it reminds you so much of the old Brood War days. Because, well, okay, I won't spoil it either. I was going to, but if there is some poor soul out there who watches this interview before they go and watch the GSL, well, I'm going to take pity on you and not say who won, but I will say that Game 5 of the Codas series, of the group from today, Tuesday, was the best I've ever seen, and Artosis agrees with me, so it must be correct, in StarCraft 2. And, well, that's largely because it was so similar of Brood War. Yes, it is simply the epicest feast out there, and I'd like to say, Joshy, I'm very honored that you take your time to do this interview rather than watch it right away myself.
Well, we had an agreement.
we had. But still, kudos, man.
Yeah, it's all right. But I'll see it. I mean,
yeah.
I'll get there eventually.
Oh, it's like a treat. It's like a gem you can slowly unwrap with your favorite snacks and doing whatever. It's like a ritual. But the point, of course, that I'd like to bring up with you, being a quite accomplished StarCraft 2 YouTuber, is now that we got this perfect, well, very good at the very least, extremely good by any standards production with the best players, arguably 2 of the very best commentators who are very well synced and produce informative and entertaining content 7 days a week, and it's tens of matches coming out of GOM TV every day almost, and you can get it for free if you watch it live. You can get it very cheaply, which I recommend, and watch it at any time. And they have thousands and thousands of dollars in the prize pool. It is a dominating event, and it is the best out there. Do you think that in any way will turn people's attention away from YouTube, which is of course what's been dominating everything for several years? Is the GSL a threat to the Starcraft 2 YouTube scene? Will it have to evolve or die?
Just based on the growth that we've seen on YouTube, I mean, I started with nothing less than a year ago, and I'm doing pretty well now. So obviously GSL wasn't around that whole time, but as far as having to evolve or die, it seems like
those are a bit dramatic here.
Yeah, it is a little dramatic, but I don't know. GOM TV, like you said, it's on demand if you just pay a few bucks, and that's a great thing. And totally it's almost like it's, I don't know, it's reminiscent of the music industry almost. Like there are songs that get played on the radio, everyone knows them, they're on every day, and then there's independent music, but every once in a while the indie band gets signed and becomes popular. So it's almost, I liken it to the music industry just off the top of my head, but that seems to be similar at least. I don't think, I feel like you're right, GOM TV has a lot of production dollars behind it, and that can be tough for an individual to try to rival unless they have a ton of money and time. And I'm fortunate enough to at least have a lot of time, so I can continue to produce. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like they're helping each other more than hindering at this point, because someone can watch GOM TV, and if they're not satisfied, they can Google Idra or Jinro and find more, casts. They might not be the most recent games in the world, but it's just more. So I don't know. I think it's okay. Obviously, I'm a fan of GOM TV and GSL. Obviously, I really like YouTube.
Yes, so do I.
That's obvious, but I think it could be symbiotic. I don't think anything major needs to happen. As far as evolving, I'm not sure what could happen really, other than different sponsors throwing more money in a different direction.
Well, just putting it out there, because I see the GSL being offering the best product out there, basically, and previously YouTubers did that, so I figure that it will have to have some sort of impact, and I guess we'll see that in 2011. Of course, the scene, if you will, the indie scene, is becoming more corporate in some instances. There's more money being pumped in. People are like you.
I've signed more contracts than I ever thought I would.
Exactly, and you see Husky making music videos all of a sudden. How did that happen? And I mean, personally, I think it's good. It helps the scene. It creates better games. Creates more entertainment for people to watch, and more opportunities for people to play competitively. And if people make money out of it, all the better. I think that will enable them to continue doing what they do. But it will have to be some impact still on what we know and what we have right now. And based on that, how do you see 2011 continue to evolve StarCraft-wise?
I don't know. I just hope it continues to grow. Things are already so different now than they were when the game released. Like, the beta had its superstars, and now, some of them aren't as prominent as they were right when the game came out. And, players have moved around team to team. Players have moved. Some are not playing StarCraft at all anymore. At this point, 6 months from now, things could be completely different yet again. We could have way more foreigners playing in the GSL. I know DeMuslim is planning to go over there, and
Team G is establishing a house and everything.
And GOM TV, I believe, has, if they haven't fully announced any details, they've at least let on that they're working on having a house for foreign players to collaborate during qualifiers and things like that. And that could be good for anybody, not just CG. So it's I don't know. As long as it's so huge, it's hard to think about. Like, it's so global, and you've got South Korea, you've got Europe, you've got North America, all with their own sort of StarCraft scenes. And then there's the overall overarching storyline of, you know, American players flying to Sweden to play in DreamHack, Swedish players flying to America to play in MLG. You've got everybody going to Korea to try to qualify for GSLs, and I don't see it slowing down. Like, people aren't really losing interest, and for every person that does lose interest, two more take their spot because it's just so prominent worldwide now at this point, that anyone can pick up StarCraft 2, and if they devote enough time to it, they can become a good player. They can become a huge fan. They might not be good at the game, but maybe they love watching the top players play. And I know a lot of my YouTube watchers, subscribers, don't play very well or don't play at all, and they just love to watch.
I don't. I suck at it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I only like to play team games because there's less pressure on you.
I play for fun, but I'm very serious about my watching.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I agree with you. It's a promising future. I think there are hurdles ahead to avoid, well, the StarCraft 2 and the community we have being capitalized upon. But on the other hand, I think the community is very old and, well, arguably wise, and is quite resistant towards easy temptation. But yeah, we'll have to see. Any predictions about who will win the current GSL Season 4, and any other big names, since you're casting so many pro gamers, that we should look out for in 2011?
Well, as for the GSL Code S season that's going on right now, the players that are left are players that have not really, you know, they haven't won before, so these guys are all taking games off of each other. There's no Flash or Jaedong yet. There's no Bonjois for StarCraft 2. Everybody's still beating each other on a regular basis. So that's actually really cool, though, not having the single phenom, and, you know, every single match can have an upset, which I remember last time we talked, we said the upset was the most exciting thing when the underdog wins. So that's really cool. It's hard to predict a winner just because that I've seen each player beat the other more than once.
You'll have to say it. I'm going to press you to it. Who's going to win?
I will say Jinro will win the GSL. He got really close. He got really close in Season 3.
And I'm cheering for him. He's my countryman, and he's so handsome, and he's a fantastic Terran. And as I said, Game 5 of today's Coda is the best game of StarCraft 2 I've ever seen. And yes, let's go for Jinro, shall we? I'd love for that to happen.
Of course. Yeah, he's a great guy too, and like I hung out with him in Dallas, and he's very humble. Obviously, he won that MLG event, and still was just like, I don't know how I won. I'm not good. Like, everyone in the OGS house beats me every day, so this is just a fluke, stuff like that. But I hope he does well all year.
Spoken like a champion. Well, Josh, it's a pleasure having you on the show, and it's great to see that you're living the dream is perhaps a bit too poetic, but definitely being an inspiring example in terms of YouTubing, which I know is something that many people watching this will want to pursue, and I think you have a lot to say in the matter. And there's even some information, concrete information, real tips available at AskJoshy.com, I noticed, so I implore people to check that out. Do you have any final shout-outs or famous last words, Josh?
Well, I would just like to say to everyone watching that I hope you'll continue to watch me on YouTube on Ask Joshy, and I hope that you'll come with me over to Complexity Gaming from time to time to see what those guys are up to. And we've already talked a little bit about what I'll be doing between the live events. I mentioned I was going to be their sort of on-site person, but we're planning a weekly event. I can't really say what it is yet. We don't have a name for it or anything yet, but something weekly with the live stream. And eventually, since Complexity is a well-established team and has sponsors, some major tournaments are also in the works. So be excited, and can't wait to see you guys there.
Well, do let us know when it happens, Joshy, and we shall come to it. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and good luck in 2011.
Thank you very much for having me.
GG for now. exclusive work with them. And I hope to be doing guest commentary on actual StarCraft 2 matches on other channels soon. I'll let you know. And I look forward to seeing you guys